This is recording 766766. You can find me at ChristinaStacia918.com. Being with the recording 766, I can tell you what she's already going to do. They already know. She's going to clip and stitch. We're not like being dismissive. We know every one of Jean's antics by the number 766. She's going to clip and stitch, and then she's going to have Christina going, this is, and then she's going to do the others, what she's going to freaking do. Anyway, so this is recording 766. The name of my podcast is Speaking to the CIA. This podcast is titled Listen Next -766. You can find me on Podbean. You can find my podcast on my website. You can find me on YouTube, Christina Station 918. You can find me on Twitter, Christina MS 918. And on Spotify, Scorpio 71. With my Spotify, you guys know, my playlist is Scorpio 71. Jean is lying to people somewhere and has ripped off my playlist and is pretending that my playlist is her, because she's pretending to be you. We know it's your playlist, Christina. We know everything that Jean Roberts does. So, no, Jean will not stop controlling my speech. Scissor is saying, no, Jean is not going to get away with it. It just seems like Jean's getting away with it, but she's not. And people aren't stupid. They know this is your podcast. They know your playlist. They have your website. They know everything. 8 billion people have access to it. As I, Christina, back to my voice again, designed it, which is why I made the podcast, so Jean can't try to steal my identity. So, anyway, okay, so, all right, so let me continue on making more connections here. So, Khalid Mohummud, who was accused of being the mastermind of the World Trade Center attack, and last night she came on using CGI acting like she's him. She also came on using CGI acting like she's Donald Trump. But I'll say that for another recording. I mean, I just can't take it with Jean Roberts, I swear to God. Anyway, so Khalid Mohummud, like I told you, Khalid Mohummud is in jail, in prison for this, and he truly should be considered as a prisoner of war. He truly should be released, because Jean Jernigan Roberts and her Manson occult are your 9/11 masterminds, and Jean Jernigan Roberts herself did the World Trade Center attack. So that's insane. But then again, I mean, don't even get me going. Don't even get me going. I have this. Hang on a second. She's making me sneeze. She's making me sneeze. Oh my God, I've got sinus allergies really, really bad. And she makes me, she uses AI to make me sneeze on purpose because of, what Kazoon type means and all that. She's trying to signal silently to someone who's seeing you sneeze, and she's telling freaking lies about you, which is the truth about her. Anyway, so Khalid Mohummud, so this also connects to, this is something that she did to Khalid Mohummud, which is mind-blowing, shocking, but it's more evidence of her trying to frame Khalid Mohummud. So, and it also connects to the previous podcast that I just completed, going over the trail of Jesse James, linking him from Ohio into Arizona, okay? So, she put Cleveland, as in Cleveland, Ohio, she put Cleveland in Khalid Mohummud's name. So I guarantee if you do the cross reduction between Khalid Mohummud and Cleveland, you're going to decode out a bunch of more ciphers. So what she's doing is she's trying to frame, it's evidence more that she's trying to frame Khalid Mohummud, and she's trying to make it look like the Middle East is out to steal all of her gold. And she's probably got a whole freaking spiel. Could you imagine what Gene Roberts' spiel is out there? They know she robbed the cartel. Hollywood said that she robbed them. And then she herself says that she robbed the mob, that she didn't rob the cartel, but like all this missing money and gold and everything else. So I could only imagine what she's freaking telling people. She's probably got some sap story out there. She's out to protect the gold, and she's just Mrs. Patriot, and just let Mrs. Bombshell just, continue to be the bank of Gene, and she'll hold on to everything that belongs to everybody, and she's not going to take. No, she wants to rip it off. I decoded her world dominion plots, and I decoded everyone she plans to do in, okay? So, because of Auckland, someone told me also in California, they said it real quick, and the Bajos in California is just as big as Auckland, and they said that recently, and it's just as powerful as Auckland. Like they said, there's basically 2 Ottoman empires, is what they said. So I know the main one is Auckland, which is underneath the valley in Phoenix. So anyway, she's probably trying to blame the Middle East for like coming in and trying to steal gold because we went over there, and then the whole oil thing, and then somebody brought up the gas shortage. The gas shortage is in the 70s. Jean Roberts, when she did the Iran hostage crisis, when she committed that crime, and then she did the gas shortage crisis, and then she used that as her excuse in trying to frame George Bush for wanting to go over there and get oil. Okay? So they could see how easily it all links together, and then she used that for excuse, and then all the conspiracy went out there about George Bush and all of that. But we now know it's Jean Roberts and her Manson occult, and she hides under the Illuminati. But if you're going to create a new world order and Illuminati and still have it secretly run by the Charles Manson occult until you can kill off the Illuminati, which is part of her plan, because I told you what her plan is on how many people left in the world. You've got to have experts in every arena, and you've got to have resources in every arena. So everything she does meets her and her Manson occult's needs, even though it's being made to look like it's, because you got to make people think what's happening is meeting their needs, and everybody's just doing this amongst themselves, and that's not what's happening at all. So anyway, so then as a continued reprise of this, present day, her excuse for running the silent war and pretending to be Iran and everything else, she's acting like she's Mrs. Patron. That is what she's doing. So the Middle East is like, okay, you're going to give us all, you took our oil, you're going to give us your, I could just see the stupidity of the crap that she's probably come up with to go along with this. But anyway, because it's very obvious, it's right here. So Cleveland, and then also Cleveland level, okay, crash. And then, so that'd be again a reference to the World Trade Center crash, and then leave September. So anyway, another thing that she did was, a part of her plot is to try to piss people off, okay? It's her Alice in Wonderland mad plot. Do anything you can in all spins of the word mad, okay, to make people angry, okay? So you literally need to get into the dictionary or thesaurus, and you need to look up all forms of the word mad and all definitions of the word mad. And I've done so much word etymology, it's freaking insane. But I'm talking about mad from like anger, mad to like angry, mad for mad using love, which again mad and then love, and then she used that in her theming to do the World Trade Center attack. So all theming of that, and then mad backwards, damn, and then rearranging the letters, and then Adam and Eve, and then silent. I mean, it just goes on and 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 on. So anyway, one of the words that she also used is when you peeve someone, and note that has VP in it. When you peeve someone or you piss someone off, when you get them angry, they're doing what? They're stirring. So that's something else that she does. And then stirring the pot, which is something else that she does. Okay, and then rearrange the letters on that, and you have tears. So it goes on and on and on. So another word that she uses, more Charles Manson knick-knack paddywhack, is simmer. So somebody is simmering, they're like steaming, okay? So they're mad, and again, steam is a form of water. So again, and then also the meat your maker, also her Charles Manson knick-knack paddywhack code there. I decoded all of that. So simmer. So she's using the word simmer, and she's got 3 different meanings in here. So there's simulation. So again, she wants people to know that she did the World Trade Center attack and nobody's arresting her. And she wants people pissed, because that would be her using simulation. She used artificial intelligence, robotic technology, which is simulation. Okay. So, and then even the freaking video, like the freaking video game, that there's 2 video games. One, The Sims. There's probably multiple video games like that, but The Sims, and then the other one called Black and White, which I never played, but a good friend of mine a long time ago told me about it, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds like a cool game to play. And it's a PC game, and you either pretend to be God or you pretend to be the devil. And then you control the universe, and it's a simulation game. Like you control the people. And then so that's so simulation. So she's using that, and then mutilation, and then annihilation, and then AWOL Nation, which I know is a group, but I'm referring to POWs underground that have been there since the 60s, and probably people she's kidnapped, such as runaways and everything else. So anyway, an entire family she's kidnapped. You have to see all my previous podcasts. So another thing she did is trying to piss off the United States of America, which is who she wants pissed. So, because you can see America in there with the MER, America. And then where I told you she refers to herself as Ariel the Mermaid. Then also, she's also making a reference to Alfred P. Murrah. So she's got 3 definitions going on in using the word simmer in her terrorism plots and schemes. So anyway, another thing that she does, same kind of thing, more Charles Manson knick-knack paddywhack, that she's used, another word that she's tore up and has used is, and it's another word for mad, is irritate. So you got Sharon Tate in there, and you have Erie, I-R-R-I, Erie, E-E-R-I-E, like weird, and then also ear, EAR, and then hearing, and then silent war. So she's using irritated, and then she's also using, I don't want to hear it, Jean. I really don't. She's lying in my brain right now. She's heavily dependent on her lies. People won't pay attention to it. They know all the lies she's in your brain. They don't even pay attention to it. So anyway, so when I decoded the World Trade Center attack, one of the segments of the World Trade Center attack where I decoded the ciphers, I decoded out the phrase where she encoded in. I've gone over with this with you in previous podcasts, and then a whole bunch of more stuff that she did just like this, and a lot more ciphers. But one of the phrases that came out of that I coded out of that was, don't forget to cross your T's and dot your I's. Okay. So looking at this again, and when I decoded the phrase out of this, I never went and broke this down even further to look at the initials of this to see what more ciphers are there. But, okay, so remember I told you she refers to the World Trade Center. I decoded this. She refers to the World Trade Center, the two towers. She refers to them as multiple types of objects, okay, and some of her ciphers, okay. So one of them, she refers to the World Trade Center as a pair of lungs. And then she has people lunging, okay. So that will go in with her inhale and exhale, and then we'll go with pants and breath and all of that. Remember I told you one of her themes in doing terrorism is using ins and outs, okay? So entrances and exits, okay? So, and it would go further even into like channels. So like if you, in all forms of the word channels, like if you channel someone, you know, her Charles Manson freaking, she wants to make people believe that they're prophets and this and that, and like she did to Charles Manson, and she thought she was going to do that to me. She really tried to do that to me too, and I was like, and I told you in previous podcasts, I'm like, you're freaking stupid. Like, I'm not a freaking prophet. I'm literally decoding crime that you're committing, and I'm going to turn you in. But that was her stick. She thought I would just be like, you know, okay, well, just go along with your shit. You can just like do whatever the hell you want. No, I don't think so, bitch. So anyway, so like channeling, like ESP, extrasensory perception, and then like TV channels, manipulating the media. So you've got, so all forms of, like, you got to think of all entrance, exit kinds of words, okay? Then I've decoded tons and tons of it. So it's all a part of her World Trade Center theming. So anyway, so she did this. So so it's lungs. Another thing she uses the two towers as are snake eyes, okay? Snake eyes are two, snake eyes on dice, as if they're dice and they're two snake eyes, okay? So anyway, so it's like looking at an aerial shot down, and then you see two snake eyes, or an RE, okay? So anyway, and you guys know RE is I equals RE, that's interchangeable letter exchanges. And then, you know, ire is anger. Okay, so anyway, so another thing that she did when I decoded the World Trade Center attack, which I've already went over with you, I decoded it, and she still uses it to this day, and I don't pay attention to it because everybody knows that the very perp is the one walking around still doing that crap, fully freaking caught for doing the World Trade Center attack, and literally still trying to get away with her Charles Manson knick-knack paddywhack lies to like she wants to still keep doing what she did when she did the World Trade Center attack, and she wants to keep using it over and over. So that's the word high. Okay, so high is in HIGH. So you can see she's referring to the World Trade Center attack there, but I'm talking specifically in this reference to hi, as in a greeting, hello, saying hello, hi. Okay, so I told you she used the word hi as a diagram, like an easy diagram, anagram, flight path, like a, what is that word when you use a picture, like you draw like a, you'd make a symbol to stand for something. So that's what she's doing with the word hi, and it's representing the flight path of her doing the World Trade Center attack. So if you look at the letter H, it's the two towers, and then she's crashing through the towers, and then the line through is also her crashing the plane in Pennsylvania, even that HIP. And then because it never hits anything, she crashes it to the ground. And then I would be, and then also P, Pentagon. The I would be Pentagon. Okay, so it spells out, it's a literal like little diagram of the directional she used in doing the World Trade Center attack. So the letter hi goes even more. So she used that as a theme to do the World Trade Center attack. So it goes even more. I decode even more on the word high. So I figure out by decoding she uses high and low. There's a whole cipher set that goes behind this I decoded. But high and low, and how do you want to die deals. She was calling them, what were they freaking called? Well, I think it was a day of the week. I think it was like Wednesday, but I don't think it was Wednesday. I don't remember if it was Wednesday or not. I can't remember. It's like an anagram that I decoded. And she did it around Billy Idol. She likes Billy Idol's music. Oh, wedding deals. So, because he sang that song, White Wedding. So, anyway, so I decoded out all the anagram on that. And then it stood for how do you want to die deals. And then everybody wins and dies deals. And everybody wins and literally means dies. And literally means you're gone. Your life is taken. You're gone, or you're kidnapped and you're pulled into this hostage racket and people think you're gone. So everybody wins and dies deals is what it was. So high and low, she also uses as a method of murder, and I decode all that out. So she's using it as, there's different ways to go about different ciphers that she has, which are different mechanical like plots or routes or of ways that she plans to murder people. And so do you want to die high or do you want to die low? And then so there's low death and then there's high death. And then so each one of those is a method. And then I decode more on that. And then I get into all the DO and DX and the IO, and I decode all those ciphers out even more. So there's a whole bunch that goes to it. So it's all methods of how to kill. Okay, so she's using the word high. So I decode out the word high, and I figure out all this stuff. So okay, so what she's also doing here is she's using the word Ohio. Okay, so if you look at the state Ohio and you put a T under the O and you put another T underneath the HI and you put another T under the O, that represents the World Trade Center attack. And then you can see in the middle of that, you can see hit. There's probably even more here, and you can see Toto, Alice in Wonderland. And then you can see she's using the phrase, and I decoded this out in more ciphers of her doing the World Trade Center attack. But again, she's making a reference to using the phrase teetotal disaster. So, and then also teeter-totter. She used me on the playground when I was in grade school at East Globe on the teeter-totter. Remember I told you she knocked the wind out of me? So she was ice raping me and my little friend. We were at recess, and she used robotic technology on us. And then I was on the teeter-totter, and one of my little friends was iced. And then so she got my little friend to get a little like wild rebel hair up their butt, and they put a rock underneath the teeter-totter. So then that leaks to the future Iraq war. So they put a rock underneath the teeter-totter. So now I'm on the teeter-totter, and then the other kid jumps off the teeter-totter, and I'm up in the air, right? And then the other kid jumps off the teeter-totter. They hit the ground, and I'm up in the air. They jump off the teeter-totter, and then my end goes slamming. So it's like it's literally like the World Trade Center attack. It's signs of my future, that I'm going to be used as a sacrifice in her doing the World Trade Center attack. It also leaks to, I decode out a whole bunch on this, but also leaks out to her planning terror attacks at 30 Rock, which is NBC Studios in New York. So I decode out a whole bunch of stuff on this. Her planning to do the World Trade Center attack, her planning to attack 30 Rock. So anyway, I go crashing onto this rock underneath the teeter-totter, and what it does is it knocks the wind out of me. Okay? And so my lungs collapse, and I climb off the teeter-totter, and I can't breathe, and I can't cry because I can't breathe. I can't scream. I can't do anything. I'm frantic. I feel like I'm dying, and I'm like falling to the ground, like trying desperately to get air back in my lungs. And then I got to the nurse and everything else, and then my air came back, and then I was fine. So she did that to me as a kid, using ice on me and my friend. Okay, that's a future sign of the World Trade Center attack. So the teeter-totter is also in here. So anyway, so what I want to point out to you here is it is also, this is a signature of Charles Manson, because what she's using here is the Zodiac killer, the one that wrote all the letters. There's a whole bunch of Zodiac killers, but the one that wrote all the letters, they probably all did it, and then he was like the letter writer. But anyway, so one of the symbols that he uses as his signature is a crosshair. Okay, so it's a circle, and then there's a cross in the middle of it, okay? So that's what these T's are. That's the Zodiac killer right there. So you see the T overlays the O, and the T lays over the O, and then people said knockout and takeout. So you see Zodiac killer, and Zodiac killer is Charles Manson. It's Charles Manson. So and then you see hit in the middle of it. So that is a Zodiac killer reference. So anyway, I want to go to the Zodiac killer some more here. So the Zodiac killer symbol is a circle with a crosshair resembling a gun sight, and then also it's a gun sight. So again, back to the Jesse James and all of that, okay, and 310 Yuma. And I decoded a whole bunch of Zodiac killer stuff around Yuma, the desert sands area of Yuma underground. I decoded a ton of it, all the SS code, and I decoded all kinds of Zodiac killer ciphers, and where she's pretending to be the CIA or the Secret Service or the FBI. She's using ice on freaking everyone. And then she's got like, and then they're pretending to be people that they're not. And there's like, it's in my podcast. You can go to my previous podcast and see and hear my decoding these ciphers. And then you can go through it yourself. But anyway, hit the ciphers are so extensive from the Zodiac killer that I literally, as I decode Zodiac killer or Charles Manson's letters, as I decode, I can only take on parts at a time. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. And it would take a while to literally like decode out the whole thing. And I bet it would end up like each one would end up being like a small book of like decoded ciphers. But anyway, so the Zodiac killer symbol is a circle with a crosshair resembling a gun sight or the logo of the Zodiac brand watches, used from 1969 to 1974. And then I was in preschool or in daycare in 74 and in kindergarten in 75 and first grade in 76. So 2 years later. So I would have been like I don't remember where I was. I keep seeing like which building I'm running from in and out of recess. I think it was in the bigger building. So it was later than 76. It'd have to be like 1978, I would say 78 or 79. I don't think quite 79. I would say 77 or 78. But anyway, it was signed on letters and in some cases worn as a watch, symbolizing the killer's taunting, controlling nature and claimed cosmic authority over victims. Okay, so more that I want to point out here. So cosmic, so you know he uses astrology, but also Son of Sam is also Charles Manson, is also Zodiac. It's synonymous. So there's a Son of Sam reference in there in the middle of cosmic. And then also hiccup is in there. Okay, so, and then you got high, and then you have cup, high cup. And then when I decoded the World Trade Center attack, her making the decision to choose September was very, 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 very important. I decoded all kinds of linked historical evidence and following her trail throughout history, throughout all the time, choosing September as a theme. So one of the things she did with September was choosing a scepter. Okay, so a scepter, she uses, and she confuses this in my brain, but I decoded both. So she's not going to get away with doing any of that either. So, in which she plans for me to get confused. And then she goes, no, Christina's got it wrong. Well, who would ever say that but the person who did the World Trade Center attack? So anyway, a scepter is a long wand that is used. Remember I told you they had scepters underground? And I was like, it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. So that somebody holds like a long cane, and then scepter, and then cup, like a royalty cup. Okay, so when I was little, she used she like when I eat boiled eggs, and I've always been this way all of my life, and she would antagonize it and make it worse. But whenever I would eat, I love boiled eggs, and when I was little, whenever I'd eat boiled eggs, I always get the hiccups. I constantly got the freaking hiccups, constantly. So I could never eat boiled eggs without getting hiccups, and I'm still that way to this day. If I eat boiled eggs, I get hiccups. So anyway, my stepdad had a shirt, and she connected my having hiccups to a shirt that he had when I was like decoding it. And she's basically telling me as a child, I abused you, and now I'm telling you to suck your dad's you know what. And she's referring to eggs. I can't remember what his shirt had on it. He had some like kooky, crazy, like 70s t-shirt with some phrase on it, and she kept referring to his t-shirt. He had a couple of different crazy t-shirts. So she's using huevos, or huevos is eggs in Spanish, and she's using huevos as in nads, basically, is what she's using. And so basically she's saying that I'm like eating, like I look back in time and I'm like decoding my childhood, and she's saying when I was eating boiled eggs and getting hiccups, I was like eating my dad's you know what. And this is what I'm decoding. And this is what she did to me like when I was little. So anyway, when I get to slide, she's sick. She's very freaking sick. I can't believe it. So anyway, when I get to Slidell, she literally tells, she literally tells African Americans who are on in my brain, and they literally have to do what she says. They don't have any other choice. She literally tells them to make me hiccup. Okay. So I'll just be sitting there and all of a sudden I'll freaking hiccup. Okay. And so anyway, they started so then they were like doing it, and she was doing it to be mean or whatever. And, she was telling them to do that to be mean. And, where she was doing it to be mean, I don't remember how, when she was doing it to be mean, and then she told them to do it. She places people under her order, and then she's like, do what I say. And so they were doing it to be mean, and then someone came on in my brain, and they go, do you know what you guys are doing? They gave them a lecture. It was so funny, and it was adorable because of what they did after that. But they were like, someone came on and told them, do you know what you guys are doing? Do you know what this means? And then they went over everything that I decoded, and they said, that's what you guys are doing. Every time you make her hiccup like that, knock it off. So then they would come on in my brain, and they'd be like, we still have to make you hiccup because we're under her order. But they would be like, we don't mean it, we're sorry. So then they started making me hiccup. They would use AI on me, and they would use making me hiccup as a form of communication. Like there would be some kind of mental telepathy going on in my brain or something. And if they had something to say and they couldn't communicate in mental telepathy, they would literally like make my body hiccup. And then whoever's on a mental telepathy be like, oh, that means that's like them putting a freaking gavel or a freaking hammer down. Like, hey, like, so, and sometimes they would communicate like, that to me, like I'm figuring something out, and they could see like something I'm decoding and figuring out, and then they would like make me hic, like they were using it as a form of communication, and it was meeting the needs of the orders that were placed on them by Gene Roberts, because Gene Roberts just thought they were just being nasty and cruel and following our orders. And heck no, we were all on freaking, I'm decoding, and they're on in my brain helping me decode, and they're like literally like flabbergasted like at all this crime that Gene had that Gene had committed. Now at the time I didn't know it was Gene, and I don't even think at the time they knew that it was Gene that was giving them orders. It could have been someone else that Gene had tricked into giving them orders. You know what I'm saying? Like, so anyway, so the hiccup thing goes to that also. So then high cup, and then also high C, and then high C, and then up. Okay. And then something else, I was like, every time anything DB Cooper, anything Zodiac Killer, anything Charles Manson, the very second I study it, I'm decoding. So I try to pretty much avoid it because I'll just decode the heck out of it. And I need to stick to, I know who Charles Manson is. That's Jean Jernigan Roberts. I know she's a Zodiac Killer. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I have all the rest of my life to decode out Charles Manson, and Zodiac Killer ciphers. Like anytime I want to sit down, I can go do that. But right, I'm really focused on turning in Gene for committing these crimes. So like, I really try not to do anything or study anything, or not even entertainment watching. Well, I would never watch DB Cooper for entertainment. It would be like me watching something on Charles Manson. I would instantly start decoding and going crazy. So anyway, but something I noticed when I was reading this about the Zodiac Killer. So Z408, he had these things named or whatever. So Z408, Z340, Z13, and Z32. Okay, so in this, I want to share with you, I decode out And when, as soon as I decoded it, people went on in my brain and they go, oh my God. No one ever picked up on that. So, I decode out the word Izod. And Izod is a preppy brand. We're getting into like, sorry, she's making me like literally like doing small freaking hiccups. We're getting into like American, because some of these guys are like American Psycho, Gene Roberts people, as you know. You're calling Gene and Ackright Capezios. There's plenty of Capezios out there. So anyway, so Izod, which like I bought my ex-husband a hat, Ben, and it was an Izod hat, and it was his favorite hat, and it went missing right off his head when we were in the French Quarter in New Orleans, and he was like, my hat's gone. He's like, I love that hat. It's freaking gone. So anyway, I'm like, oh my God, if he could see this, I swear to God, I bet you anything he goes out and gets another Izod. And then someone said he probably wouldn't, because if this was like the future, if it wasn't what it was, but then people are like, what doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. Like, anyway, so Izod, so then Izod is in Zodiac, okay, and then also inside this is Blizzard, and also in this is Dicey Conditions. So remember when I told you a little while ago the high and the low and how do you want to die deals and all of that? Okay, so the Dicey Conditions is also an anagram method on ways, the word dicey is also an anagram method on ways to kill. So I decoded that in my brain. I didn't write it down. I just put Dicey Conditions goes to odd cipher. So I'm going to end this recording, and then I will try to get more done today. I've got stuff to do today, but I will try to get more done today.